We are now going to study about the SAP business workflow. Okay, so by business workflow we mean that how are steps performed in a particular business. Okay, so there is a predefined manner in which the steps to be performed to do a particular activity. Okay, so we shall learn how is the business workflow explained in SAP and how is it possible to achieve the same in an SAP system. So let us go through the basics. Workflow in SAP systems, okay, or between different SAP systems, it aims to increase the speed and transparency of business processes. Okay, a workflow model breaks a process down to its individual steps, which are then assigned to various people, or rather to their roles within the company. The automated sequence of steps ensures that tasks are rapidly assigned to appropriate employees. So this lesson describes two views of the same workflow. One is the view of people participating in the workflow, and the other is a technical view designed to clarify the process in the system. So what do we understand by this is SAP has made provisions, okay, to define certain paths or define certain steps which are needed to be done in the SAP system to perform certain activities. Okay, and how does SAP does this? It breaks them down, okay, into small parts, or we can call them as individual steps. So these individual steps are then assigned to various people, okay, which may be according to their roles in the organization. Okay, and the assignment of particular activities within the workflow to particular people is automated. Okay, so one does not need to send something to some person to do that activity. Okay, that is sent to that person automatically. So here we shall learn about the business workflow in two scenarios. First, where physically employees are involved, okay, to do the required activity, and next is which will be done technically or automatically. Okay, so these will be the two views which we shall learn. A very basic thing you should understand is SAP assigns particular activities to particular people, okay, and that is done in an automatic way so that they can perform their activities, their responsibilities, and the work can be finished quickly. Okay, so this is the basic concept of the SAP business workflow. Let us proceed. Okay, here we have a diagram, okay, which helps us understand flow of a particular business. So we have considered a example in this diagram. So what is the example considered? It is an employee which requests a leave of absence. Okay, so in this example an employee has asked for a leave from office, and we shall learn how the information is flowing. Okay, so first we have the employee who is requesting the leave. Okay, next the leave is requested and it goes to his supervisor. So now supervisor has the responsibility of either approving or refusing his request. Okay, so if the supervisor approves his request, which is approval granted, the employee goes on leave. If the supervisor refuses his request, okay, then again the control goes back to the employee, who has to decide whether he has to cancel his request for leave or whether he has to change the dates for which he is going on leave. Okay, or whether he has to change the period at which he is going on leave. Okay, so if the employee cancels his leave, okay, there the control ends, okay, and there is no further action to be taken. But if he decides to apply for some other period of time, then again the control goes back, and then again leave is requested for a different time period, and the process is then followed. In SAP point of view or a technical point of view, we can see that the leave request event is triggered over here. Okay, here is the decision phase. Okay, we have two decisions for the supervisor to take. Again, the decision which he takes is an event, granted or refused. If it is refused, it again goes to the phase of decision, but this time to the employee, either to cancel the leave or to take leave in some other time period, and the decision which he takes is the event. Okay, so this gives us the technical view in SAP language, which is trigger of the event, decision, or the event later, the decision, and the event. Okay, so this is how is a typical workflow of applying a leave by a particular employee. So what is the basic motive of formulating such a workflow is the right person receives the right task at the right time, or who does what, when, and how. Okay, so this is the basic concept of formulating a workflow, that the correct person should receive the correct task at the correct time. That is ensured by SAP. Or which person, maybe the employee or the supervisor, he does what, when does he do it, and how does he do it. Okay, that is also decided by the SAP system, or SAP system has the capabilities of deciding the same. Okay, so just what I have explained right now is written over here. So there are two persons involved, the requester and the authorized supervisor assigned to the requester. So two persons. The requester fills out the form and saves his or her entries. The save action triggers a workflow event. Okay, so once he does, so this is the event triggered. This event is received by an appropriately configured workflow and passed to the approver in accordance with the predefined rules. So it goes to the approver or the supervisor, and this is done by a predefined workflow using predefined rules. The supervisor or the approver receives the corresponding workflow item in his or her office inbox. Okay, so once the employee has requested the leave via SAP system, the supervisor will receive this in his office inbox. And how do we access the inbox in our particular SAP system? It is via transaction SBWP. A workflow event therefore creates a link between an activity in the SAP system and the people involved. Okay, so there is activities within the SAP system and also the people involved, so there is a link. When the approver calls up the workflow item, the approver is automatically referred to the function approve or reject request. So SAP system will show the approver two buttons which may be either approve or reject. So there are two scenarios which the supervisor has to consider. If the request is approved, which triggers the workflow event, so if it is approved, again an event is triggered. The requester is informed and the workflow is complete. So once it is approved, the SAP system will inform the employee who has requested the leave, and the same will be reflected in his office inbox as well, which he can see via transaction SBWP. But if the request is rejected, also then the requester is informed, and he has two options, either to accept the rejection or to change the leave request. Okay, so here if it is refused, again the employee can see two options. If he accepts it, his request will be cancelled. If he decides on a change, the flow will be again continued. Okay, so all this is done via a software interface. Okay, and the methodology or the flow is predefined into the SAP system.